Good evening. Thank you for joining me tonight. Bill Boshear's here till 12 o'clock, along with my guest tonight. And he's not in the studio, but he's online and be with me in just a minute. We've got a lot of things to cover and a lot of detail to get into tonight. What started all of this was some time ago, back in 2004. There was a book published. It was called The Price of Loyalty. And I'm holding that up only because it was by Ron Scizone, and it was about Paul O'Neill. And Paul was I was traveling cross country, and I had an audio version of it, and somebody gave me that, and I listened to that, and then when I got the book. An interesting thing he does in this, he gives a timeline unbeknownst to what he was doing, but he points out when he was hired, and he goes into the detail of it, and then he gets into something that really freaked me out. 10 days after Bush was inaugurated, they have the staff meeting, when in fact, that's when all of it broke. And Cheney was the one doing the cheerleading. Around the room, they had their usual board members, but from the second, what they call the second rowers, were invited up to look at this. And when I saw it, I thought, wow, when I read that, I thought, they were already planning the war in Iraq. Well, we know what's happened since then. There is a book being published, Bugliosa, former prosecuting attorney of L.A., has published a book. Bush tried to get a pardon. We're going to get into all of this tonight in just a minute with my guest. But the man who brought all of this, when I'd ask him, I said, it ain't going to happen. It can't happen, can't happen. Now he's doing it. The people of America are about ready to take their country back in a way unlike it's not unaccustomed to do. This man, my guest tonight, was responsible for, many of you have heard me say this before, he was responsible for Paula Jones and bringing her out and getting Bill Clinton prosecuted or impeached. His name is Larry Nichols. Online with me. Mr. Nichols, glad to have you aboard tonight, sir.
Hey, Bill, how are you?
Doing well, if anything, getting better all the time. Larry, this thing that I mentioned to you about Paul O'Neill,
right,
was the first time I had that I thought about it. But we keep hearing, oh, you can't sue the president. Oh, you can't sue the president. And then I have on tape, Bush tried to get to pardon himself in some bill. They take a bill, you know, and they'll wrap a lot of stuff around it, and then they stick things inside of it. And one thing's inside the bill. It passed by the House, as I understand it, but I don't know if it passed in the Senate.
Well, I think it did.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. Now,
go ahead.
What's interesting about this, folks, and you're going to find the punchline here in a minute. What's interesting is they were calling for a pardon for all his men because of Gitmo,
right,
violations of the Geneva Conference. Now, folks, let me tell you something. You can't do that.
No.
Our Congress has no power over the Geneva Conference. It doesn't. It would be, Bill, the same thing as Hitler saying, you know, before the Nuremberg trials, Hitler going to his Congress or Parliament and saying, give me a pardon.
Yeah, give me a pardon.
And see, maybe they would have. If they would have, do you think that would have stopped the Nuremberg trials? No.
Not likely.
No. So you can't do that. Now, folks, there's a book out called The Prosecution of George W. Bush for Murder. I can't take credit for the concept that you're going to hear about. The other day, on Morning Joe on MSNBC, they had Vincent, I don't know how you pronounce his last name.
Bugliosa. I'll tell you what, I've got a 3-minute clip if you want to see him. I'll tell you what, let's do a break first. We'll come back and do the Bugliosa thing, and we'll get right back to it. Okay, Larry?
You bet.
All right. You guys don't go away. We got more to do, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. It's going to get very into it. Get you a pencil. You'll need it. Right here in the Scizone with Bill Boshear and Larry Nichols tonight. Thank you. quick, Dave, would you please run that report that we got there on Bill Glios's book?
Is the prosecution of George W. Bush for murder. There's no ambiguity to that title. My motivation for writing this book is quite simple, to bring about justice. George Bush, in my opinion, has gotten away with murder, thousands of murders, and no one is doing anything about it. And we, America, the American people, can't let him do this. I think the majority of American people probably are going to find it difficult to accept that the President of the United States, the most powerful man on earth, would engage in conduct that smacks of such great criminality. I mean, you just don't expect something like this of an American president. However, I'm very confident that once they read the book, they're going to be overwhelmed by the evidence against Bush and will be convinced that he's guilty of murder and should be prosecuted. In the book, I lay out the legal architecture for the case against Bush, all of the evidence of guilt against Bush, and the jurisdiction to prosecute him. I mean, I even set forth proposed cross-examination questions of him if he takes the witness stand at his trial. There is conclusive evidence that in George Bush's first speech to the nation, that Saddam Hussein was a great danger to this nation, either by his attacking us with his so-called weapons of mass destruction, or giving these weapons to some terrorist group to attack us. And he said the attack could happen, quote, on any given day, unquote, meaning the threat was imminent. The only big problem for George Bush, and if he were prosecuted, there's no way he could get around this, is that on October the 1st, 2002, 6 days earlier, the CIA sent George Bush its 2002 National Intelligence Estimate, a classified top-secret report representing the consensus opinion of 16 federal intelligence agencies. Page 8 clearly and unequivocally says that Saddam Hussein was not an imminent threat to the security of this country. In fact, the report says that Hussein would only use whatever weapons of mass destruction he had against us if he feared that America was about to attack him. So we know then he was telling millions upon millions of unsuspecting Americans the exact opposite of what his own CIA was telling him. If we had nothing further to go on, and there's so much more evidence against Bush, just from this alone, we know that George Bush took this nation to war on a lie. Who's going to pay for all of this? Someone has to pay. And the person that has to pay, obviously, is the one who's directly responsible for all of the death, horror, and suffering. And that person is George Bush. I've set forth in my book the jurisdictional basis for the Attorney General in each of the 50 states, plus the hundreds upon hundreds of district attorneys in counties within the state, to prosecute George Bush for the murder of any soldier or soldiers from their state or county who were killed in Iraq fighting George Bush's war. I don't think it's too unreasonable to believe that at least one prosecutor out there in America, maybe many more, will be courageous enough to say, this is the United States of America. And in America, no one is above the law. George Bush has gotten away with murder. No one is doing anything about it. And maybe this book will change that.
I don't know if the book is going to change it, but I can tell you my guest is Larry Nichols. Are you still there, sir?
You bet.
Larry, you've heard what everybody else has heard.
Yeah, and that's basically what I heard on MSNBC.
Right.
Now, the flaw, now he's a big-time prosecutor. He prosecuted Manson.
Charlie Manson, yes, he did.
He's the guy that did it. The problem with what he said, or his plan, is to get prosecutors to take the case. Folks, taking a case for murder against the President of the United States, you're not going to find certainly any county prosecutors, state prosecutors, or federal prosecutors. It ain't going to happen.
He's looking for somebody like Jim Garrison.
Right. Well, that don't
happen.
work. But because of what he said, it gave me, which I credit all of it to him, it gave me the concept that must be used. And that is, come Monday or Tuesday, folks. Now, I hope Bush and Cheney and Wolfowitz and Tenet and Rumsfeld, I hope they're all listening. Because Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to file a civil lawsuit in federal court in Little Rock, Arkansas, against the gang of thieves under the auspices of theft by deception. Now, folks, theft by deception, we now know, thanks to O'Neill, thanks to Vincent, and stuff I got, we now know that Bush lied about the war. Now, he lied about the war. So we go into this war.
Wow.
And it's costing us $12 billion a month for probably 5 years. More than that, I bet. Now, here's where the theft by deception comes in, which gives me the right to do it. You see, part of that $12 billion is my money. It's my tax money.
I got some in there too, Larry.
All of you do. And you see, when he lied to go to war, and then he takes our money to do it, that's theft by deception. Now, what am I striving for? Folks, I'm going to get discovery. Well, first I want to get certiorari, which means everybody sits down and says, who are you going to call as a witness? And I say who I'm going to call. They say who they're going to call. And then you go into discovery. Now, in discovery, now, you say this can't happen. We did it with Paula Jones. Remember what got Bill Clinton impeached? He lied to Paula Jones's attorneys. And then remember that you'll remember the piece because he says, depends on what is. So there's legal precedent set. But there's not time to impeach Bill Clinton, as Kucinich wants to do. But
I mean, what do we got? 6, 7, 8 months, maybe 9 months, or whatever the time limit is. We have time.
Yeah, you just can't do it.
You can't.
But I'll tell you this: I will get my day in court. Now, you say, well, why doesn't somebody else do this? Because anybody else would have to hire an attorney. And folks, you ain't gonna get. You're pulling this stunt. There ain't an attorney in this country that would take the case.
Well, wait a minute, Larry. You've had some calls from some very influential people about this, have you not?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've got a group of senators that heard about it. Virtually, Bill knows, virtually the day I dreamed it up.
It happened within a matter of hours. I mean,
yeah, and they're excited. Two of them even offered me their office space. Now, folks, you better listen. It's time to take this country back.
That's right.
And there's one other thing that causes me to do this. Right now, George Bush, remember General Fallon, head of CENTCOM? Well, they made him retire. You know why? Because he would not agree to exercise Bush's plan on the invasion of Iran. So he got out. There were several other generals that wouldn't do it. So now, Bush is sitting there playing chicken with Iran. And we still got 160,000 troops there.
Larry, we don't want to go to war with Iran. They got 78 million people ready to go to war.
Well, folks, it's hard to imagine this, but let me explain it to you. Now, listen to me. Saddam Hussein never did anything to us.
That's true.
There wasn't any, 9/11, he didn't do it. Now, there were 17 of the 19 terrorists came from Saudi Arabia. 2 others came from United Arab Emirates, Dubai. Why didn't we bomb them? And we know, thanks to the work Vincent did and Kucinich, we have the documents to prove that Bush, Colin Powell, Donald Rumsfeld, Dick Cheney, Paul Bremer, Wolfowitz, we have the proof that they knew he was no threat. They knew it, but they let us into it anyway. Now, why? Well, I can only tell you this, because this isn't going to be a part of my suit. See, I can only go to court with things I can actually prove. I could only tell you since the day the statue fell, the oil companies have made the largest gross profits per quarter in the history of the world, and they just keep growing. paint this picture. Take the Middle East, all right? I want you to color in Saudi Arabia. I want you to color in Iraq. I want you to color in Jordan. I want you to color in Kuwait. Color in all the other countries there. There's one that you don't color in, and that's Iran, and that's why they're going to go get it. I believe because of the oil. It has to be the oil.
Well, we now know that that's why they went. I mean, it's obvious that's why they went.
Now,
I mean, they got sweetheart deals, and now they've got 3 or 4 companies that are standing back. Well, we don't know if we want to drill or if we want to do research or what we want to do.
Bill, they're still lying to us. You heard Bush just Friday has this press conference. We need to drill in Anbar. Okay, that's 10 years away before we get one drop. And by the way, folks, that's sour crude. We can't burn it here.
Can't
that's
burn it here.
China and Russia.
Larry, let me go to break. We'll take a pause in action. Come right back with more. My guest, Larry Nichols, and your phone calls. Right here in the Scizone. I'm Bill Boshears. Don't go away. Back in the Scizone, Bill Boshears. My guest tonight, Larry Nichols. Larry, we talked about earlier there, just for a minute. Are you still there, sir?
Yeah, I'm here.
We talked a little bit about Bush wanting a pardon. He's got a snowball chance in hell of getting that pardon.
Well, he's not going to get it against me because I'm civil.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Makes a lot of sense.
Sure does
now.
now.
Folks, I want you to understand something. Now, y'all going to have to help me because it's going to cost money to file it. It's going to cost money to travel. It's going to cost money to get depositions. And, you know, this is the real deal. And by the way, this is on Google. So you can bet right now somebody on Bush's staff, somebody will see it.
Well, Larry, it's on Blog TV for sure, live tonight all over the world.
I just want Bush, Cheney, all of them to know I'm coming. It's me
all
and you.
right.
Now, they'll get all their attorneys. You'd say, well, Larry, you're doing stupid, man. Hey, they're going to hit me with an arsenal of attorneys 10 miles long. Folks, it's what you do. It's what you have to do to win. But now, y'all going to have to chip in. I'll do the hard work, but I have no money. I can't pay for all this stuff.
Larry, let's talk to Don out there. Don, you're on the air with Larry Nichols. Go ahead.
Good evening. It's interesting. It's a wonderful fantasy what you're talking about there. It would be nice if America was a democracy and that the courts would listen to the people. And I don't care if it's a civil suit or what kind of suit you have there. It won't happen. Nothing will happen. I hate to throw water on your parade there, but the country is owned by the company. There's no chance that there's democracy. There's no chance that there's law. We have a Congress full of lawmakers. They follow hand over hand with W. Bush, Dick Cheney, and you forgot one, David Addington, Dick Cheney's legal counsel, and Jack Wu in the State Department, in the Justice Department. But they're the ones that cleared the way for him and basically said, "Who's going to stop us?" And nobody's going to stop them. They're the leaders, and Congress.
Well, Don, I hate to disagree with you, but I think the American people are bigger than that, and I think they will stop them. But I appreciate your call, sir. Thank you.
Yeah,
moving right along.
I couldn't hear him, Bill.
Well, he doesn't think you got a snowball chance in hell of running this thing.
Well, let me tell you this, Don, or whatever your name is. They said that about me getting Bill Clinton impeached.
Yeah, go check with Bill Clinton.
Hey, dial 1-800 Clinton.
Check with him. Let's go to Don, another Don. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, Bill. Good evening, Larry.
Hey, Don.
I would like to ask you something directly, Larry.
Yeah.
All these charges being brought up against the president for, whatever, all the bull crap he's done so far. Why can't we just bring a single charge against him called treason against the people? Not against the country, against the people.
You know why?
And bring him up for capital punishment.
Hang on, Don. Hang on. He's got an answer for you. Go ahead.
If they did that, then it would have to go to the Attorney General, which is Bush's Attorney General, to prosecute it. That's why you can't do that.
If you do that, you're going to have his people running interference for him.
I personally think he ought to be brought up against the firing squad.
Well, you may get your chance.
Because it's treason against the people in the highest degree.
Well, let's deal with what we can handle.
I agree with you, sir. You've got my money.
You know, I will win this baby. And you say, well, like that other guy, you don't have a snowball's chance in hell. Hey, trust me. Mention my name. Hey, why do you think those senators called me? They know I can.
They know why they better call.
Well,
anyway, Don, I appreciate your call, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen. Have a good evening.
You too. Let's go to Annette quickly. Annette, you're on the air with Larry Nichols.
Hello, Larry, and hello, Dapper Bill.
Hey, look out, kid. Look out.
You are my best professor I've ever had.
Oh, my God.
You are, and I have taught so many. You've got people in Nigeria, in India, Uganda. Everybody is all over this. I had sent them to the websites, and I've been into the Wikipedia this week, and have been reading excerpts from this exact book by Bugliosi.
Yes.
And Larry can do it.
You bet he can.
And I am all for it, and if America does not take a stand and do something this week, as Senator Graham said, America has become a nation of whiners. And, oh, yeah.
Oh, I heard that.
He'll be whining when he tries to remove my foot from his bum.
There you go. And then, we appreciate you.
I had some levity, dear.
You do. Thank you, Lett. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Good night. Larry, people are upset about it.
Well, Bill, see, that's the thing that we've got going for us. Folks, we can change this country back. We can take our jobs back from China. We can take our jobs back from India. All we got to do is take Bush and the boys, the band of thieves. And I guarantee you, I told those senators, I told them as a conference call, I said, boys, there's a new sheriff in town. And it ain't me. It's the American people. The American people know that they're being lied to. You know, how many times have you heard Bush say, we've got a robust economy, we've got low unemployment, banks are really stable. Hey, does he think we're that stupid?
Yeah, he hopes we are.
Well, the problem is nobody has access to the court but me right now, because you got to hire an attorney. Ain't no attorney going to go against them.
All right. The telephone number is 381-3838. Jump in, area code 513. 513-381-3838. I'm about to get my tongue tied up here. Let's go back to, I guess it's Regina? Regina, you're on the air.
Hi. I've been listening to this, and
Can't hear, Bill.
I can hardly hear myself. Go ahead, dear.
No, yeah. I've been listening to this, and I think that we ought to look at Bush's motivation. It's got to be the oil, because he's been into oil forever. So I don't know if he's got any insider deals, but it seems to me that he's profiting from all of the misery that he's caused.
Well, somebody's making some money. I appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate it. Basically, her point, Larry, was she didn't know if he was into it or not. There's a lot of people making a lot of money on this oil.
Well, see, y'all don't understand a blind trust. President, vice president have to put their holdings in a blind trust. That don't mean that don't keep making them money. It just means they're not supposed to be able to affect legislation to benefit the holdings they have, which I will tell you they do. But, Bill, it's significant that if you understand the price of oil, the price of gas, the cost of food, the foreclosures, the jobs, folks, you got to take the head off the dragon. When you do, the rest of the dragon will die.
Larry, we've lost 1 million jobs this year, and I guess we're just a bunch of whiners, according to whoever said, what was his name? McLean, or that guy who wants to be president. I don't know his name.
Yeah, McCain.
McCain, yeah. He says we're a bunch of whiners.
Well, he didn't, but his economic strategist did.
Well, see, that guy that said that, he must have, McCain must have seen it, had to know about it. Why would you let somebody in your campaign say something that stupid?
Well, because McCain, y'all, I want you to take a look at McCain. You'll never see John McCain that you don't see Lieberman on one side and Lindsay on the other.
That's got it. Let's take, Larry, let's take a pause in the action right here. We'll come right back. 381-3838 is the telephone number. Lines open. Jump in. My guest, Larry Nichols, right here in the Scizone tonight. Bill Boshears here in the Scizone tonight, along with Larry Nichols, my guest. He's on the telephone. Dave, Dangerous Dave in the booth there. Can we run that Bush pardon thing, that clip? Here it comes. Look at this.
Bush's bill to redefine the treatment of detainees, and the Senate's expected to do the same thing tomorrow. Buried deep inside this legislation is a provision that will pardon President Bush and all the members of his administration of any possible crimes connected with the torture and mistreatment of detainees, dated all the way back to September 11, 2001. At least President Nixon had Gerald Ford to do his dirty work. President Bush is trying to pardon himself. Here's the deal. Under the War Crimes Act, violations of the Geneva Conventions are felonies, in some cases punishable by death. When the Supreme Court ruled the Geneva Conventions applied to al-Qaeda and Taliban detainees, President Bush and his boys were suddenly in big trouble. They've been working these prisoners over pretty good. In an effort to avoid possible prosecution, they're trying to cram this bill through Congress before the end of the week when Congress adjourns. The reason there's such a rush to do this, if the Democrats get control of the House in November, well, this kind of legislation probably wouldn't pass. You want to know the real disgrace of what these people are about to do or in the process of doing? Senator Bill Frist and Congressman Dennis Hastert and their Republican stooges apparently don't see anything wrong with this. I really do wonder sometimes what we're becoming in this country.
Larry, my guest Larry Nichols. Larry, you know, that's a dangerous precedent to be set. These guys really don't know what the hell's going on.
You know, Bill, we've got to change everything now. All right, we got to change everything now, but you got to have a starting point. And nobody's ever done this but me. This will be my second time. I won the first one. I don't know if I'll win this one, but we've got to change it, and we've got to convince Congress by going after Bush and his band of thieves. We've got to convince them, Bill.
Larry,
we're not going to take this anymore.
Larry, the congressmen and the senators who have already called you, are they supporting you?
You bet. Matter of fact, they promised me a hearing before the Judicial Committee of the Senate. That means, you know what, Bill? I get to go up against Arlen Specter.
I want him bad.
Oh, I want him.
I want him bad.
So, no, there's... As a matter of fact, the senators said, now, folks, y'all listen to me. I'm not saying it. They did to me. This is huge. Huge. Now, I'm going to be massacred by the media. I'm going to be beat up by attorneys. But there's some things just worth fighting for. And let's call that America.
You know, and Larry, if it's not your country, what the hell are you here for? What are you fighting for? Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Gina. Been there the longest. Gina, you're in line with live with Larry Nichols. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had something to say about that man who said, you know, we're turning into a country of whiners. We're actually turning into a country of welfare recipients. That's what I feel we're turning into.
All right, Gina, appreciate it.
Well, we're going to stop that. Come on. Come on. The Congress. See, they shall make all laws. Bush and his band of thieves, they're above the law. Well, you saw Karl Rove. They had a subpoena to get him before Congress, before the committee, and testify. He just didn't show up. Well, you say then they're going to issue a contempt of Congress thing against him, right? You know who you got to go to get that? Bush's Attorney General.
And that ain't going to happen.
Nah.
That won't happen.
But ours will.
The telephone. Go ahead.
Well, mine will, because mine is sound under law. Mine, I have a right to do. Y'all have a right.
By the way, Larry, you've got a precedent's already set with this, haven't you?
Huh?
Is there a precedence about this already been set?
Sure. That's what we did with Paul Jones.
Ah, there it is.
He sued the president for $750,000 while he was still president.
Did she get her money?
Yes.
Whoa, that hurt. Anyway, the telephone number is 513-381-3838. My guest, Larry Nichols, live tonight. You should be a part of this.
Let me say this to y'all. I've never asked for support a lot.
Never.
And I ain't got any. Haven't got much.
So,
but y'all better chip in this time, because this is our last best shot. And I'm telling you, I do not have the money to sustain what I got to sustain. I can't do this for free.
all right, let's go to Matt. Matt, you're there with Larry Nichols.
Yes, just a question for your guest. Talking about oil profits and things of that nature, the question I had was not just a Republican or a Democrat thing, but it seems like the Democrats continue to talk about windfall profits for oil companies and other committees and other people that are receiving windfall profits from the gas prices. What about the government? Isn't a 18 to 20% tax a windfall profit for doing absolutely nothing and generating no service?
Well, just take the last quarter, okay? According to the oil companies, they make 8.7 cents per gallon of gas. The government gets 20% per gallon of gas in federal tax. Now, let me ask you all if this makes sense. In the last quarter, the government's cut was $18 million. The oil companies were $30 million. Now, you see, somebody's lying to somebody. And don't be deceived, all right? Just don't any of y'all be deceived. The Democrats, they ain't no different than the Republicans. But we finally have an instrument to get to them all.
Do you support a conservative agenda, sir, in regards to getting a handle on this as bipartisan?
I'm probably right at till of the hunt. I am a devout conservative. I am not a devout Republican. You see, if you're a true conservative, then the scales balance. Either side screws up, you go after them.
That's the beauty of this show.
Right.
It's right down the middle. Hey, I appreciate the call there, Matt. Thank you.
All right.
We're going to do a pause in the action and come right back with more of your phone calls at 513-381-3838. Jump in. The line's open if you want to be a part of this tonight. I want to hear your opinions about it, too. Bill Shears in the Scizone tonight with my guest by phone, Larry Nichols. You're welcome to jump in if you like.
Bill, let me say this to Bush's people that are listening. I've told you what I'm going to do, how I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it. Now, load your attorneys up. Load them up now. You better get them. You got all the money in the world. I got none. You've heard me tell people here I ain't got any money. I'm not lying.
It's not about money, Larry.
No, it isn't. By the way, I need to give my address. Number 58, Kensington Drive, Conway, Arkansas, 72034. I should have done that earlier.
Should have done that earlier. No big deal. Let's go right to the phone. Let's get Randy in here. Randy, you've been there the longest. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Bill.
Boy, I don't know where you're at, but it's evening here. But go ahead.
Yes, Bill, I'd like to know, what is it that you have against Barack Obama or McCain?
What do I have on what?
What do you have against Barack Obama or McCain?
Do I have something against them?
Yes, it seems like that you always have something negative.
One is a doting old man, and the other one has no experience. You figure it out. And I'm not being racist. I'm not being anything. I wouldn't vote for either one of them. I'm an independent. Neither of these two guys have answered any questions for me. They have nothing to do with me. Nothing. They've answered no questions. They have no plan or anything else. But I appreciate your call. Go ahead.
Bill, to Randy, let me say this. McCain is protection for Bush because he'll carry on the same agenda.
Yeah, that's a good reason not to vote for that flatfoot.
And then Obama, hey, y'all, we don't know him. We know what he says, but we don't know him.
Jesse knows him.
Yeah.
Jesse knows a whole bunch about him, and I think you're going to have a lot of Jesse and Al Sharptons hanging out in the White House. And I don't need that.
No.
Not from them two birds. Bob, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon, or evening, I should say.
Evening, whatever.
I caught the program halfway midstream, but what do you think about the recession that we're in?
Recession? Hell, we're in a depression. This is an out-and-out depression, my friend.
Exactly. Especially when I saw today in the newspaper that Indy Mac, everybody was doing a run on Indy Mac.
Let me tell you something. Used to, in the good old days, a recession meant you had a downturn in the economy for 2 consecutive quarters, but people had jobs. A depression was when you had a downturn in the economy for 2 consecutive quarters, and people don't have jobs. We don't have jobs, contrary to what they tell you. Look around your town. Hell, there's somebody in your family, I guarantee it's out of work. Can't find work.
Look at me. I'm unemployed. I've been laid off for a month and a half now. There's nothing out there.
Well, I'll guarantee you this, and you can put this in the bank, I'm going to get your jobs back.
I'll tell you what.
I think we're in a full-blown depression because, like I said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't the last depression started with runs on the bank?
Exactly. And you think they're not running? Let me tell you the bad part about it. Not only are they making runs in this country, Indy was one. It went down this week. The Fed just walked in and took it over. There's banks all over the world that are folding up their tents. And there are major companies that have lost billions and billions of dollars. And for somebody to run around and go, well, there's no recession. Hell no, it's a depression. I'm saying it because none of the rest of them have got those cojones or those hanging down things to say that. They're going, well, we have to do this because whatever the White House hands them, they give them a damn cheat sheet and they go, oh, this is the story of the entire century. And they live by this little handout that they get from the press corps. Oh, Bush is saving the world. He wouldn't know what to do. I'll tell you what, anybody that's never had a job except what their daddy gave them or a silver spoon put in their mouth doesn't know what you and I are going through. Do you think they give a rat's behind about you or me? Absolutely not. Now, I'll tell you what Nichols is talking about is going to happen. And it's going to catch on. It's going to catch on like a grass fire all across the country. People are going to be after this. And here's the trick. You heard it first here. The trick is staying with it. You've got to stay the course. This is going to happen Monday or Tuesday. He's going to file this. And the how shall I say this? Casually, the Merta del Toro is going to hit the fan.
Yeah, and see, the beauty of this bill is, you and I both know, the media is going to come out, laugh at me, jump all over me, try to ruin me, but you see what they're doing? They're putting my name out there and telling what we're doing. Millions of Americans are going to hear about it, not because of me, because of the media, trying to protect Bush and the status quo.
The status quo is over in Washington. Fellas, I got news for you. You're going to see this at some point. So let me tell you this much. You guys on K Street, you got your jobs are done. You congressmen and you senators, you know who you are. You know where your name is. You know you're going to be named in a lawsuit coming up shortly. This isn't the only one he's got. You had better be getting ready to go back home because a lot of you are going either home or to jail. Larry, you've got to... Hey, Bob, I appreciate the call. Thank you, sir.
You keep up the good work, Bill.
You got it, brother. You've got some interesting things ahead of you. Not only this, but the UN, don't you?
Yeah. I've got a parallel suit against the UN for oil for food.
Oh.
For the same reason.
For the same reason.
We pay 85% of the cost for all the salaries for ambassadors, the cost of the building for the UN. That's my money. That's your money. That's our tax money. So they lied about cutting off and not getting oil and putting all these restraints on Hussein, didn't he? Because they were backhauling and getting vouchers for oil.
Okay.
So now we got him again, see? Theft by deception.
By deception. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Nouri al-Maliki and his play in this, if there is one, right after this break. My guest, Larry Nichols. I'm Bill Boshears. We'll be right back. We're back in the Scizone. Bill Boshears with my guest, Larry Nichols, live. Larry, what about this? Before we went to break, he was making a point, and I said we'll clarify that when we come back.
Well, let me do this because we're out of time. Now, folks, I need help on this thing. I'll do this. If you'll send $25 in a self-addressed envelope, I will send you back a copy of one of the most historic filings in this country's history, and I'll even autograph it and send it back to you. Now, if you send $300,
oh Lord,
I will send you all of the inner correspondence. In other words, the motions, you'll get it all. Some of you say, well, I can put that on the internet. No, you can't unless you pay to access Lexis. So we need your help. I need your help.
Be a way of doing it. Let's go to Oliver on the line. Oliver, you're on the line with Larry Nichols.
Hey, Bill, how you going?
Doing all right, sir.
And Larry, I think it's never brought up that we only have one oil company, that's Marathon. The rest of them are all foreign oil companies. And when they talk about drilling, I was up in Alaska in the pipeline, and all the oil out of the North Bay up there goes to China and Japan.
That's a fact. I got to run. I'm up against a break here, but I appreciate it, Oliver. Thank you, sir. Let's go quickly to Ralph. Ralph, you're there, sir. Go ahead. Hello, Ralph once. Ralph twice.
Yeah, this is Ralph.
Go ahead. You're on the air.
Hey, Bill, how you doing? I just got one quick question, straightforward. I'm a straightforward guy. I want to ask Larry is, what do we got to do to stop this bill from going through? If the Democrats know about this, why they just can't, stop it before you get to the vote? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. Why didn't they stop it?
Yeah, why?
They're no different. Number one, they didn't stop it. They didn't stop it until the last election because the Republicans had control of both houses. Then the Democrats lied to us because Democrats pledged, Nancy Pelosi and all of them, that if they got control of both houses, they would immediately get us out of Iraq. They didn't do that. They had these hearings about the oil companies. They've had 40 of them. They hadn't done anything
Had
about
them in and didn't even swear them in.
No. And the oil companies, they don't care. They're buying our government, Democrat and Republican.
Well, that's the way it works. Anyway, I appreciate the call, Ralph.
No problem. You have a good one now.
Larry, we're out of time here, but Larry, would you please repeat your address again? We are having calls about that.
All right, it's number 58 Kensington Drive, Conway, Arkansas, 72034. Now, this program will be archived, so if you didn't get it, go back to the archives when this is up, and then you can hear it.
You can get it.
Yeah.
Larry, thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Keep us abreast of what's going on, and we will get to it.
Matter of fact, we'll need to talk next weekend because it'll be filed.
All right. We'll be in touch, brother. You take care and stay safe.
Bye.
Bye. That was Larry Nichols. I'm Bill Boshears. You know, every week we try to get something different, something arranged that has a broader basis. I don't know how much broader this is going to get. I can tell you this. This is the real deal. I know he is. And he's going to file these lawsuits. He talked to me about it, and he called me back very excited. He said, Bill, I've got congressmen and senators calling me. And they want me to go through. They say it's huge. They want me to go through with it. Folks, if we don't take our country back, I don't know what we're going to do. They've tried to take our guns, and they'd love to do that. They'd like to take our homes and everything else in them. They're taking our jobs slowly but surely. And banks are folding like tents. So you can call it a recession if you want to. The people tonight that have called, who are out of work, it's a depression. And for the people watching on Blog TV around the world tonight live, thank you for joining us. Tell your friends about us. We'll be here next week, same time, same place, and we'll give you the updates as we get them. In the meantime, take care of yourself. Stay safe. So where will you go? Well, you can look at it on Blog TV, and we've got the web. All of this is being archived on Google, I believe. Isn't it, Dave? Davis. WBQC.com, and you can go to the archives and see all the shows, or you can see this one. You know, tell your friends about us. And I'd like to hear from you wherever you live in the world. You can get me straight away at bill@Scizone.com or Scizone@WBQC. Either one, I'll get them. And I'm looking forward to chit-chatting with you. And we'll watch this lawsuit as it continues. This isn't going to go away. He's going to file it. It all started when I started looking at what Scizone had put in this book. And Paul O'Neill, 10 days in, said, they want to talk about the war. I don't know of any war. That was how it started. Tonight, it's all the way to a lawsuit. You be a part of it. Stay tuned. Get more into it, more information right here. No problem.